Sorry. I just want to make sure it was on recording so that if anybody missed it, they record it. But your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship that you can have. In fact, such that all of the other relationships are dependent on the relationship you have with yourself. And having the most amazing relationship with yourself is directly proportional to your relationship with your word. Okay, everybody understand that? Your relationship with yourself is directly proportional to your relationship with your word. The majority of you have an incredible relationship with your word when it relates to you giving your word to others. And then about 99, almost 100% of all humans do not have a good relationship with their word when it comes to giving your word to yourself. Okay, so that would mean, okay, I'm going to get up tomorrow and go running, and you probably heard me use that example, but when tomorrow comes, you realize, oh, I haven't told anyone else I was going running. And who's going to know if I go or not? And I really don't want to go. But what happens in that moment is there's a magic sledgehammer and chiseling away at your self-esteem. Your self-esteem and your integrity are interlocked. And the more you can't look at yourself in the mirror anymore because you keep telling yourself you'll do things as simple as I promise to get one lead tomorrow, and convince your family, I'm going off to work today as a real estate agent, I'll be back. And you're gone 13 hours. But if your 8-year-old knew enough to question you when you got home and said, hey, mom, you've been gone all day. How many leads did you get today? Oh my gosh, you would want to not go home anymore if your 8-year-old was going to be asking you that question. Or worse, your 13-year-old, or even worse, your 18-year-old, because they know everything already. So you don't want to have the people you care about and love the most to feel like you just left the house as a mockery to the family rather than as a way to get business. So I didn't mean to go into such a deep subject, but it's vital when you understand that we all set out every day to sell more houses. That's our job, right? We set out to sell more houses, but if we spent an entire day and didn't get a lead, are you really going to work as a real estate agent or as a details manager or a transaction coordinator or as a lender's helper? No, I just got to make one call, make sure my buyer got his 12 months bank statements in. Really, is that the best use of your time? Or couldn't you just text your lender to say, could you please confirm that the buyer I sent you got to you everything you needed? So there's lots of things that we do as a way to avoid being amazing. And yet what we're doing is we're building up stacks of evidence that we suck rather than stacks of evidence that we're amazing. So just something to consider when we're talking about our time and the quality of time that we spend with each other. Today we've already driven 130 miles. We've already fed and walked the dog, and I've been on 3 Zooms already. That doesn't make me better, and it certainly doesn't make me worse. It just makes me somebody who has more of a grip on the reality of my calendar. And putting something in your calendar also does not make it happen. Okay, we did talk about this before, and that is, your demons, what happens when you put something in the calendar, and how you are about forgetting things. I remember night before last that I had a 2 o'clock call yesterday, and it was in my calendar. And right before I went to bed that night, I told Siri to set an alarm in my phone at 1:55 p.m. To call Sarah. All right. At 1:55 p.m., I was sitting at my computer and I was working on a letter. And believe me, if the alarm didn't go off, it didn't matter that it was right there in my computer on the calendar, I probably would have forgotten to make that call because I know my demons. So I prepare for my demons. So just things like that's one of my favorite. How many of you downloaded the Eisenhower box that they gave you on that chapter? I'll share my screen. Where is my Eisenhower box? Oh, there it is. Let me show it to you. I didn't see how many of you said you did or didn't download it, but here it is. So it's just one page, If you look at this, if you took every task you did in a day, by the way, the best way to start on this exercise is write down everything you need to accomplish today. Okay, let me show you. I wrote that down. Everything that I have to accomplish today is in this folder. It's about 138 things. I don't expect to get through them all today. But if I went through this exercise, in other words, if I went through these pages and looked at my notes and I decided what was not urgent, but was important, right? What was urgent and important? Wouldn't you think the urgent and important things would go first? Yes, that's the answer. So it basically goes in this order. You go urgent, okay, important, and then urgent, and then not urgent, important. And then down here, you go to urgent, not important, and not urgent, not important. But if you had to prioritize, what would be the things you wouldn't do today? Not urgent, not important. This box down here in the bottom right. So just a way of looking at things. And guess who gets to pick the right and wrong answers for this exercise? Nobody in the world but you. Okay, just something to consider. If you got up just a half hour earlier, or even 15 minutes earlier, jotted down quickly all the things you had to do, or stayed up 15 minutes later the night before, and then right before you get started, you put them through your Eisenhower box and you decided this is how my day is going to go. All right. So just something for a little bit of a taste. So, all right, let's get back. Missy, thank you for all the wins. Look at all the things you got me talking about as a result of the wins. By the way, the boots are pretty nice too. I'm just kidding. I'm
You
just
are my
feeding,
favorite.
I'm just feeding into your high eye. Okay, who wants to go next? Just a win, any kind of win. Even if you got a kiss from someone you didn't expect to get a kiss from, that's a win. Go ahead, Laura Lee. It's worrying me. She's not keeping her eye on the road. If you're talking, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Okay. I have been working with a gal for about a year, and she finally, I'm listing her place on Sunday.
Nice.
Yes. So I'm very excited. She called me Wednesday, I went over Wednesday night, and we agreed that I'd come back. We'd sign the listing on Sunday.
Wow, that's nice. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, that's awesome, Laura Lee. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
How, as you look back at your consistency of follow-up with someone like that, do you feel that you could have been better or that you did great?
I feel like I did really good.
Good. That's what I would have
Yeah.
imagined. So, yeah, good for you, sweetheart. Good to have you on. All right.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next? Oh, guys, by the way, if you have a problem with anything I say, I'm so sick of getting caught saying sweetheart. My wife likes, quit saying that, you know, so just tell me if I've offended you and I'll never do it again. So go ahead, Jude.
So I have a listing that just went live the other day, and I have like 50 showings scheduled on it. And I made an attempt to connect with each agent that's scheduled.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So
And so, and is that like, what do you think a payout will be from that?
So I'm attempting to like establish relationships and get to be known, liked, and trusted by agents in my area.
Nice. That's good. That's really good. And people don't understand. I was talking to a guy from Manhattan Beach yesterday. Manhattan Beach, California, one of the highest average sale prices in the state. Not the highest, but one of the highest. And he was telling me how, you know, I told him to make 61 phone calls in a day. And he goes, then I'd have nobody else to call forever. And I said, oh my God, you're killing me. So I made him take his phone and tell me how many contacts were in it. And he said, 3,900. I said, okay, let's take 1,000 away for errors, mistakes, and people whose guts you hate. He goes, okay. I said, that leaves 2,900. When was the last time you called all 2,900? He goes, why would I do that? There's a ton of agents in there. I go, why wouldn't you? I said, talking to another agent in your neighborhood could actually one day get your offer accepted over someone else's. I said, there's nothing we do in real estate when we talk to people and we show kindness, patience, a willingness to collaborate and brainstorm. it opens up so many doors, right? I told him about a lady calling another agent and telling them that hoping that they were doing okay through COVID. It was something we covered on one of our free Friday coaching calls, and she actually went out and did it. Just started with the Z's in her phone and went backwards. And one of the first 10 calls was to another agent. And she had done a deal with the agent a long time ago and said, hey, I was just calling people on my phone to see how you're doing during COVID. And this is in around June or July of 2020, just a few months after COVID, before all the cynicism and things began. And he goes, oh my God, that's so nice of you. What are you up to? And she says, I'm just working from my desk at home like everybody else and seeing if I can gather up some business. And he goes, what are you doing to do that? She goes, this. He goes, what do you mean this? Just calling people and saying hi. He goes, well, I'm a realtor in your area. She goes, I know, but you're still a human being and you're probably going through some shit. So I thought I'd call you too. That led literally to 2 weeks later, the two of them being in a transaction together, because as the conversation went on, they started talking about what do you got coming up? What kind of buyer you got? And they were able to put a deal together off market. Right? It's priceless. It's priceless. Relationships are priceless, especially if you establish them without a freaking agenda. It's a relationship for the sake of the relationship. Judy, if you were here, I don't care what anyone would say, I'd hug you and call you sweetheart. All right. That's awesome. That smile on your face, by the way, says it all. So, all right, who's next?
I'll jump
I'll share
in.
something. Oh,
Okay,
Go ahead, MC, you go first.
okay. Well, I have two wins. I have been battling with Lenovo for 6 months and they finally replaced my computer. So I'm actually online with a picture of myself. So that's
Wow.
huge. The biggest one though is I got a referral. She called me. She said she was referred to me by her hairdresser.
Nice.
So we started talking and I'm trying to figure out who her hairdresser is. And the long and short of it is, it's someone that I met while I was walking around at a listing about 4 years ago. And I had no idea that she owned the hairdresser shop. So yeah, I so I met with a client. She's a hoarder and it's going to be a nightmare, but nonetheless, I used the Augmandino book and I just said, I'm going to approach this person with love and compassion. And she said, when I walked over, she said, I bet you're really sorry you took my phone call and that you're here. And I said, no, I'm here to meet you and to get to know you and find out, you know, what I can do for you.
Yeah.
And it just switched everything, just coming with compassion and love, you
And
know,
understanding. Yes.
and
Yeah.
understanding. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the best kind of story because, you know, like I can remember in different heart markets throughout. I even had one where the car was buried so deep in the ground in the backyard that the hood was sticking out. The rest of the car was somewhere in the ground. Because I told him, I go, oh, can you yank that hood of a car out? And he goes, Rick, that's a whole car. He said, all you see is the top of the hood. And the mom, her son was a cop. He hired me to sell his mom's house. And literally to walk through the house, it was through little aisleways where everything was stacked up. And we sold it with everything in it.
Oh, wow.
We got the buyer to say, take what you want, get out, we'll take everything else, because it was a hot market. It wasn't as hot as what it is now, but it was enough that there was 3 or 4 offers on it, all over asking. And I even put in the listing, the offers that allow the seller to take what they want and leave will be considered over other offers, even with higher prices. Because it would have been a 50 grand easy to have somebody haul everything away, right? So anyway, but just a thought for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. And MC, it is such a pleasure. You know, I know you personally, met you in person, which I haven't done for a lot of people on here, except maybe Michael and Laura Lee, I know really well. But to see you on camera is such a pleasure. Thank you. Okay. Who's next? Tina, you were next, weren't you?
Yep, sorry. So my big win this week was, it's gonna sound kind of silly, but it was a big deal for me. I was able to figure out how to use the power dialer for my cold calls. So it was pretty cool because I was able to pound out calls a lot faster, doing like 50 an hour instead of, hand dialing. And the funniest part of the whole thing is the one I was circle prospecting, and the one client that I called, prospect I called, he answered, and I asked him if he knew, I said, you're probably not thinking of moving, but do you know anyone in your neighborhood? And he said, yeah. And he just sat there. And I'm like, oh my God, that was that moment where I'm like, oh crap, he said yes. What do I say now? So I was like, well, oh, and he said, yeah, guy's seven houses up. He's getting divorced. His wife just moved out. And I'm like, well, that's terrible. I feel really bad, but I really need a house. So my people are desperate. And so it was an interesting conversation, but yeah, that was a big win for me because I got over that fear and realized I could do it. And it really wasn't anything to be afraid of.
That's awesome. That's so good. Congratulations. And you have a lot of courage, Tina, that I've noticed on these calls to be doing a dialer and things like that. So congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. Who else has got a win? I think we haven't heard from a lot of people yet. Hi, Amber.
I have a win. Hi,
Hey.
how are you?
I'm Peachy.
Actually, my win is pretty simple this week, but actually today I made that I set for myself each day, and yeah, it worked out. So that's my win.
I kind of missed that. Could
Yeah, you
maybe
broke
say
up.
it one more time.
You broke up on the end. I heard the first part about it being my win is simple, and then you kind of disappeared.
Oh, I'm sorry. My win was that I set a goal for myself every day. I had a different goal for myself, and I hit my goal every day.
Congrats.
Wow, that's congratulations. So it's,
you.
are they like, are you setting like small little, I can get a victory type of goal?
Yeah, I mean,
Good.
the first one was I want 3 appointments set that day, and
Yeah.
I set them. And
Nice.
then, going on and meeting with some of the clients that I've been trying to get them to see houses, and, I got them out, and now I got somebody pre-approved, and we went and saw a whole bunch of houses this morning, and they're thinking about an offer. So hit
Yeah,
a goal every day that I set. So
yeah,
I'm happy.
that's awesome. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
Good. All right. And where are you and what's the temperature?
Ohio, and it's 48 degrees right now.
Oh, that's not too bad for Ohio at this time of
Cleveland.
year. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Who's next?
I have a win today.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, how are you, Rick?
You have a win with that sky and that temperature.
Beautiful Signal Hill, yes.
Yes. What is it? 75, 80?
Yeah, around that, yeah.
Okay, good.
It's absolutely gorgeous. We're doing
Yeah.
our morning walk.
Nice. Amber, I'm sorry I made her say the temperature.
You guys are killing me. Freezing. I got my sweater on. We got heaters going. It's awful here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So sorry.
We're having a little heat wave. It got to 80 yesterday where I live, so.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
80 here in Santa Barbara.
Nice. Okay, go ahead, Angela. What's your win besides the weather?
My win is I'm going to take some buyers out today to look at a home, and 2 tomorrow, and hopefully they see something they like and we'll put in an offer.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Good for you. And I hope that it
Thank you.
goes well and that you win the offer.
Exactly.
Okay, good. All right. Who's next? We have Crystal, Spencer, Demetria, Brenna, and Hannah left. So
I can go. Oh.
go ahead, Crystal.
This is Crystal. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've just had so many wins. It's ridiculous. We've been working a lot of leads and been really good about keeping track of everyone in our KV Core, which has been great. I'm obviously a new agent. And I also do property management stuff. So I kind of get a little bit bogged down, and I think that maybe I'm not, performing as much as everyone else, but I think that just the steps that I've been able to take and that I feel really comfortable with now, and I've been having a lot of client calls. I have a friend of mine that basically helps me make the initial kind of setup calls for me, and then doing the calls myself. It's pretty incredible, like how many calls I've been doing now that are very, I think, productive, and then we've got a couple of leads that are pre-qualified, and it's really just about home shopping at this point. I think I've got about 6 or 7 clients that are pre-qualified. So it's a lot of work coming, but that's good.
Wow, that is just so
Um,
amazing.
I wanted to mention one other one that I think is really awesome too, because it's kind of a long friendship that I've had. I used to work with this lady when I was 19, and I worked for 8.5 years with her. And I randomly made an offer on one of her mom's apartment buildings that she happened to be on the title for. And she just called me out of the blue the day that I was going to make the offer and was telling me about this sale that was happening. And I was like, yes, I know about it. I'm actually making an offer for a client. And she's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that it's the right pricing and all of that. So anyways, a long story short, her mother called me and talked to me and asked for advice. And then she's talked to me, and now they're basically going to be doing a 1031 exchange. And she wants to have me help her buy the house that she's going to exchange from. So she wants to do that with cash. So that'll be really nice and easy in the general region that we're looking. So I think that's a big win, is having someone trust you from a previous engagement with them,
Right. And is this the 1031 she's doing is off of the sale you made on her apartment building, or?
No, because I was making an offer for another client on this building, and we did not get our offer accepted because
okay.
they accepted a cash offer and we were doing a FHA. So it made sense that we were not selected, and I wasn't offended. But what's amazing is that her mother actually even called me yesterday and is asking me advice and stuff like that. So it sounds like long-term, we're just building this wonderful relationship based on, my ability to help them plan out their steps, not only with a 1031 exchange, but for the, remaining of their, wealth management. So,
Yeah. I think from the first day I met you, which was by text, probably almost 2 years ago,
yeah.
you have always been a natural attractor of people who know, love, and trust you. It's crazy.
I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, well, that's a gift. So congratulations.
Well, I was just telling my friend how aligned I am with this group. So I'm excited to be here, and I really want to support all of you. Thank you so much for supporting me.
You're welcome, sweetie. Oops, not supposed to say sweetie either.
I do it a lot. No
Yeah.
worries. Thank you so much for calling me sweetie.
Okay. Spencer, your turn, buddy. I think you were about to go.
Hey, so I had a couple smaller ones this week. I've been going through my CRM and calling people, some Zillow leads that I've had, conversations that I've had. One of them said they were going to wait and start looking again in the spring. And I was okay with that. I figured I'd just leave them alone for a while, but a house came up and I thought this looks close enough to an excuse to get a hold of them again. So I texted them and called them, and they were willing to go out and look, and we had a pretty good meeting. I met her husband and her kid and their mother-in-law, and got some really good contact there. So, I mean, if it weren't for you guys and your support and setting a schedule of going through and calling people, I probably wouldn't have followed up with someone that said they were going to wait until summer or spring to buy a house.
Yeah.
So that was really good. And I went to a home and garden show and ran into a friend there that does a lot of construction and home building, and had some good conversations with him. He's got a huge network, and asked him for his number and his card instead of just handing him mine so that I can contact him again. And he came back around later and said, it was nice seeing you again. Can I get your card and your number in case I know of anybody selling? So a couple good contacts this week.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Spencer, for sharing, and congratulations. And I like to say this, there's no little or big wins, there's just wins. So congratulations. So, all right. Hannah, Demetria, and Brenna, there's no mandatory sharing, but if you want to share, now's a good time. Okay.
Hi, it's Demetria.
Hi there, how are you?
Actually, I'm moving around, so I'll just stay off camera. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you fine.
Okay, so since you said there's no big, small, or otherwise, I'll just say, okay, my win this week is we're sending out, I guess, messages through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I sent them out, just kind of letting people know that I'm here for them. You know, kind of late when I sent the message out, but just say, can you believe it's already February type message. And, you know, if you know of anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest in real property, please let me know.
Right.
And a couple people have gotten back to me, you know, just really reconnecting with people has been great. And one friend I knew who was, she's based in Southern California, but her mom is on a sabbatical in Paris. And she said, my mom needs to rent an apartment in the 6 arrondissement in Paris. So I reached out through EXP World. I already signed up through the French group and connected with a realtor. And he's working with me and my clients' friends to find them a place in Paris. And they're really excited that I was able to jump on it so quickly because of the EXP connection and having somebody in Paris, you know, who can do this for them. And they also want to buy a place in Fontainebleau, which is, I guess, not too far from Paris.
Wow.
So this is great. If this works out, this could be something else, but it's a referral. So it's not me actually doing it, but I don't even know what
it all counts.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. And I'm glad that he is, you know, able to jump in. He's not going to be able to help them with the purchase, but I will go back in and find somebody who can. So
yeah.
I'm doing more international referrals now.
Nice. Does anybody know, do the French use the euro, or do they use something else?
It's euro.
It is. Okay. Well, good.
Yeah, and this apartment that their budget is €10,000, actually $10,000 US a month for this apartment for their mom. So it's pretty good.
No
Yeah, so I'm excited, and their budget for their home is up to $2 million. So
wow,
as I
that's
said,
awesome.
Yeah, so it's exciting. And as I said, these are friends I've had for years, but you know, they know me as an attorney. So I'm, you know, making sure they know that I have very many other hats as well.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. I'm so proud of you. And thank you for sharing that with us. The international market is very intriguing to me because I see on the workplace referral groups, people saying, you have a buyer for, I mean, do we have a real estate agent in, you know, this city, country? And I'm like, wow, it's so cool that we're referring from the United States to like Costa Rica and France and, you know, Colombia and all these different other places. So
It really is. And if anybody, you know, is interested, I just went to EXP, what is the workplace? And I joined like the French group, and I also joined the Italian group because our husband is a filmmaker, and he will be spending some time in southern Italy. So she said they might want a place to stay there. They might want to buy there. So this is great. So just if anybody has any interest or clients who may be interested, you know, just join the groups through EXP workplace.
wow, that's awesome. That's so good. Congratulations. And
Thank
Demetria,
you.
thanks for being on during all this other busy stuff you're doing. That's very committed of you. So
My pleasure. Thank you for, you know, hosting these.
oh, no worries. Hannah and
Meetings.
Brenna, anything before we go into week 6? A little more deeper than we did? A little deeper. Okay.
Rick, I'll share that we scheduled an event,
Uh-huh.
a movie event. It's tonight. It's for past clients and Spear and
Nice.
our
What kind of
raving
planning went
fans.
into that?
This was a much, I think, much less challenging than some of the other stuff that we've done that involved more planning. But
Mhm.
this was as simple as phone calls out to the local movie theater. We figured out the grand opening for this particular movie. What's it called again?
Murder on the Nile.
Murder on the Nile opens
Oh,
tonight.
nice.
So
Didn't
yeah,
that,
so
yeah, that just came out, right? Yeah.
Today.
yeah, today. So we'll have a full house. But I wasn't sure people how they were going to reply, because a lot of the people that we cater to with our other events it's more family oriented, a lot of stuff for kids and bounce houses and Easter bunnies and everything else.
Yeah.
But we're getting a whole kind of different grouping of our clients that are responding to this, which is cool. So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to reconnect with some of them tonight. We'll have our truck parked out in front of the movie theater and hopefully get some good visibility and some conversations and see if we can generate some referrals.
Yeah. That's awesome. And Michael, how many more are there besides you and Missy? I thought I saw others, but maybe is anybody there? I don't want to miss.
Yeah, no, it's just Spencer
Okay.
he's on the road now, and then
Amber,
and Hannah. And Hannah, I know.
Oh yeah,
Hannah's
they're
got-
all here. They're all here on,
Yeah.
I knew Amber was part of your group and Spencer, but I wasn't sure Hannah was, so that's great.
Yeah.
They're all here on Zoom, so. Okay, well, thank you. And there is something that I thought was vital to talk about in the interest of the calendar, only because, it's like I said, we talked about the Eisenhower box and the 80-20 principle, and a lot of people, when I used to talk about yearly planning, I'd say the first thing you want to do in yearly planning is sit with your family. If you have kids, any of you have kids between, let's say, 6 and 20 that still live at home? Anyone? No, I don't. Anyway, the reason I say that is we used
I
to
do.
Michael, Missy,
Yes.
Amber, Laura Lee,
And Demetria, yes.
and Demetria too. Good. The reason I say that is even way back in the 90s, when computers and emails were not as big of a deal as they are now, in the mid 90s, you could call the school that your kids went to and say, do you have some sort of prediction as what to the year looks like as far as activities and days off and vacations and teacher workshops? And they'd send it to you, and you could usually get it for the following fall by November or December of the previous. So, so if you're talking about November and December of 95, I could get what the school year looked like for the school year of the summer of 1996 forward. And then we would take all these big title company calendars that were literally this big. They had pages, and we lay them all out on the floor with Sharpies. And the very first thing we do to plan 1996 or 1997 was to go through and plan all of our time off. And as a family, it was my first wife, me, and our 2 kids. We always knew that we knew places. We were a baseball family. We all loved baseball. My kids and I were born here in the Bay Area, so we were all Oakland A's fans. My wife became an Oakland A's fan, even though she was born and raised in New York and was a New York Mets fan. And So we'd cross off baseball game days and things we were going to do and vacations. And we always knew that the last week before school started after Labor Day was going to be a vacation, like camping or baseball related. We always took a vacation between Christmas and New Year's. Always took a vacation around Easter. So we marked all those off. And then any big family activities like birthdays for the boys, birthdays for us, so that when you looked at those 12 or 13 months, we typically wanted to have December of that year and the 12 months, we could already see clearly where we were not working. Okay, we could see clearly if we had to take the boys out of school for something. It was all clear on the paper. This is before one iota of planning for my business or anything else started to happen. Then I would look, back then I was with Century 21, I'd look at my schedule and go, well, there's conventions, there's the Century 21 convention, there's all these things, there's these classes I'm going to take. and those types of things, events that we had planned for our office because I was the manager of the office. Now I've got all my vacation time in. I've got all the stuff to further my career. What is all the vacation time called? I want you guys to write these 3 words down. I'll put them in the chat for you. This is the order in which you, I know some of you are driving, but this is the order in which you plan your future. First, you plan your time off, your play time. Then you plan your prep time. Prep time is how do you become better at what you do for a living? Conventions, classes, seminars, as much as you can ahead of time. And that's what I had just done, right? So we're looking in November and we're doing December of this year through January 31st of next, through December 31st of next year, 13 months or so. And now if you look at, if you had 12 sheets of paper laying or 13 laying around your living room with all these calendars and all these mark-offs, you know what you would realize? I don't have a lot of days left to work. If you planned all your vacations and all your prep days and all of that, you'd be like, wow. So what does that leave? Notice the 3 words I sent you were play, prep, and then pay. The rest of the days you plan are your work days, okay? How you get paid. So when you do that, you have a bigger idea, and that is more your general planning for all of next year. Then for specificity about what happens on those days, I'll share my screen with you. If I can just find what I'm sharing, never mind, we won't share yet until I find it, because you don't need to read all my emails. Let's see, where is it? It's right here. The perfect week. Okay, so the other thing that they gave you in week 6 that you wanted to share and look at is this. This is called your perfect week scheduler. Since I can't see all your faces while I'm sharing, if you would yell out whether or not you saw this and if it scared the crapola out of you or not. Anyone? Because again, I can't see all your faces now. All right. Here's what this is. I just want you guys all to see it. Now you see it. Now you don't. This causes the most consternation for the majority of my coaching clients ever. And I'll tell you why. Because what my perfect week is a dream week. Even though you work, you have to work to make money. How would I ideally see my work happening 30 minutes at a time? But guess what? When people do the perfect week, they forget that they have to do laundry. They forget that they have to go shopping. They forget that they got to walk the dog, that they want to have a date night with their significant other, that they've got to have time with the kids. It all goes out the window, and all they end up putting into that calendar is work stuff. The purpose of my ideal perfect week, one of my favorite tools that came out of Workman, is this. Ideally, how would my week look if I stuck to my word to myself about how I like what time would I get up? What time would I go to bed? When would all of the other stuff happen? I give this to people, they come back, they go, I see you have from 1:30 to 2 your lunchtime. I go, I don't see anywhere in there where you bought food or prepared food. What's happening in that 30 minutes? Are you sprinting out of your office to the local Taco Bell, grabbing one, coming back, shoving it down your mouth, and within 30 minutes you're done and you're back on the phone again? Doesn't happen very often, right? But what happens if maybe you took your lunch to work with you? Okay, great, that you can be done in 30 minutes. But where did I see in your schedule before that you made the sandwich, that you bought the food, all of that stuff? And you might say, Rick, this is all so ridiculous. Absolutely not, it's not. It's how your time gets away from you. In the very first week, they gave you a business plan and they gave you something called a daily success habits form. You guys remember that? That daily success habits form is, frankly, one of my favorite tools. So let me show you something. Are any of you now on the Free Friday coaching call email yet? Okay.
I am.
Who's I am? Tina only?
Oh, Tina, sorry.
Tina, MC, you too? MC, are you? You're not? Okay, guys, I gave this to you last week. I'm going to come out there with a stick and hit you all. Gina at rickjihad.com.
We just sent our whole group over to the email and we're all on it now.
You are good. So
Yeah.
sorry, the second one in the chat, the last email, Gina@rickjihad.com is my assistant. Just email her and say, hi, my name is Judy, and this is my email, and I'd like to be on the email list for the free Friday coaching call. At the very bottom of every single one of those emails, besides there being a link to the recording of the last free Friday coaching call and the link to all of the coaching calls, which may or may not help you, don't know, up to you, is all these links for forms and documents that Workman Success gives us. They're all in the RAMP program, but this is all of them stuck in there. All right. The Daily Success Habits form, I'll pull it up and share my screen with you. Let's see, Daily Success Habits. Ooh, and I'm going to do you even one better. I'm really learning to be pretty savvy with the computer and links and shit. Sorry, and stuff. Look at this. Right there in your chat is a link to the Daily Success Habits form. Ta-da! All right, we've got 13 minutes and I really want you guys to know about this stuff. So let me share my screen with you. When we have people use this form, guys, this form, remember, you may or may not know this, but you have 168 hours in a week. When we have people do the activity tracker, this left side, the common person, the average person finds between 15 and 22 wasted hours in a week out of your 168. That's anywhere from 10 to 20%, okay? Typically not as much as 20%. Most people don't find 30 wasted hours, but definitely between 10 and 15% of the hours you have, you find that you have wasted. You find that, not me. It's not a coach saying, what are you doing taking a nap, you slacker? It's not that. If you intended to take a nap, then take a damn nap. That's part of your schedule. So what I really, really, really want you to use this for, more than the other stuff that we can talk about at another time, or that we actually have reviewed in the past, is imagine this. Imagine if you got up in the morning and before your feet hit the floor, you grabbed your phone and you started a 30-minute timer. And every time it went off, you grabbed a piece of paper and you wrote down what you did those last 30 minutes, and you do it every 30 minutes until you go to bed. Now, the trick is to do it for 7 days. Most of you would rather shoot yourself or burn the form before you got to 7 days. I'll be honest with you. Michael for sure would. He would be so done with this after 1 day. My wife, years ago, had heard me coaching about this, and she obviously coaches her entire network marketing team across the world. And for years, she'd hear me talk about it. And she'd come by, she goes, do people really do that? There's no freaking way I would do that. And then she put out a Facebook Live to all her team, and she called it What I Do After Listening to My Husband Coach on it for 2 years. And she got her entire team all over Spain and Sweden and Canada and US that she has that work with her in her Nu Skin business to start implementing that, to see where was their time going when they said that they were going to, lead generate or prospect, and they weren't. Where was their time actually going? So imagine that every 30 minutes, it's going to go off. On this form on the left side where it says activity tracker, you can just write in a few words and say, I did this and this. I actually carry a blank sheet of paper in my back pocket when I do it, because I like to write a little more about what I did each half hour. Do you know why it's a half hour, not an hour? Anyone? Bueller? No. The reason it's a half hour is that statistically science has proven that a big chunk of people, up to 50 or 60%, cannot remember what they did in an hour, but over 99%, not 100, can remember what they did in the last 30 minutes. And that's not a slight on their brain or anything. It's how busy we get that we forgot what we did, right? I mean, I'm a sports fanatic, especially around baseball, but I can't tell you who won the last several World Series. In the moment, I was super involved, but right now I'm like, what? I can't remember. I'd have to Google it. So, all right, this is a great thing to do. So if you did the perfect week, the exercise of the perfect week is not to execute the perfect week. It's just to get it on a calendar. That's all. Don't even do it. Don't put it in your calendar. Just put it in the form. Ideally, I'd like to get up at 7, Rick. I'd like to be working out at 7:30. People say, well, to do that, you got to go 4:30. Bull crap. Plan your day the way you know you do it, not the way you know there's no way in hell you'd ever do that. So the thing I always say is, like, my wife read a long time ago. Did anybody read that, The Miracle Morning? No? Hal Elrod. Great book. It's a great book. He's like Chicken Soup for the Soul. He's got Miracle Morning for the realtor, Miracle Morning for the teenager, right? And it's a good book about how to get your life on track. But it said, like, what it spoke to my wife is that we were getting up at 4:30 and we were journaling, and we did it for a couple of days. And I say, I'll take this couch over here, and I wouldn't journal. I'd fall asleep. She go, well, why don't you do that when you get up at 4 and leave for basketball at 4:30? I go, because that's basketball. All right. So there is no rule that your day has to start at 4:30 for you to get what you need done in it. It's all about your ability to get to the activities that matter most, along with the activities that help you get paid. Believe me, the activities that help you get paid are not necessarily the things that matter most, right? Like the other day, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit, but the other day, I promised my wife I had no more phone calls, and we were in our big great room. So he was sitting on the kitchen counter and I was sitting over on the dining room table, the Costco plastic dining room table that we're using in our new home right now. And she said, you're not getting on a call. I got to jump on a Zoom. Well, sure enough, the phone started ringing and I had to answer it. And she was not happy. She grabbed her computer while on the phone, said to her client, her coaching client, I'm going to have to move locations because my husband is making noise in the background. So I'm going to turn my camera off and my microphone, and I'm going to run to a different part of the house. Is that all right with you? She said, yes. Like, I was feeling like I had just broken my word to her. So after I got done with my call, I could hear her still in the back bedroom, doing her call. I took a little chrysanthemum off of this little flower bouquet we had in the kitchen, and I taped it to a piece of paper, and I got a big Sharpie and I wrote, honey, I love you, and I'm so sorry about my lack of manners and consideration for what you were doing. And then I pushed the door open in the guest bedroom, threw it on the bed, closed the door, and ran out. And I could hear her stopping her call, laughing her head off about this little note. And I'm like, we're good, right? The reason I bring that up is that there are things that matter a lot more than your lead generation in the big scheme of life. But in the scheme of day-to-day bills, and I gotta make money for my family to do the things we want to do, then it does matter. All right. Okay. So daily success habits, my perfect week. Remember, my perfect week, the exercise gets so much easier when you realize, I just want to put down in writing what ideally I'd like it to look like. But when you're doing it, you know what happens in your mind? You start saying, well, am I ever going to do that? Don't worry about that. Just put down the dream week. That's all. Right? I'm up at 6. I do this. By 7, I'm doing this. By 8, I'm doing this. And where is your lead generation time? And where is your lead follow-up time? Right? Where's my appointment time to go show houses? Like, get that all in. Right? And do they all have to look the same? No, that's why it's 7 days. You might have days where you never go on a buyer's appointment. Right? I don't do buyer appointments on Thursday. Whatever. I've been teaching my team about this guy named Paul White. I want you guys to learn about Paul White. I met Paul White in the 80s. Okay. He passed away. He sort of semi-retired out of real estate. And then a few years later, we heard that he passed away. And when Paul, in the early 90s, I ran into him again. I hadn't seen him in a while, and he gave me his card. And the one thing I noticed, this is like in the early 90s, this was never done back then. It had Coldwell Banker, his name, and then down in the corner where his phone number was, right above it, it said off on Thursdays. Realtors don't make those kinds of commitments. What if I miss a buyer that can only look at homes on Thursday? Not Paul. He put it out there, off on Thursdays. Was his client ever going to guess when he looked at the card where Paul was on a Thursday? Was his client ever going to guess when he looked at his card to call him on a Thursday why he didn't answer? No. I wanted to be more like Paul. My kids were starting to be older then. When I met Paul, my youngest son was 3, my older son was 6. And my wife at the time worked in the hair shop all day Saturday. She was a hairstylist. I ended up taking Saturdays off for 21 years straight because of Paul. Because why? She was in the shop. The boys always had baseball games on Saturdays. So, you know, and it worked out great, right? And even though I miss stuff, my sons remember me and baseball. And they're 36 and 33 now. Okay. We still do baseball stuff together. The whole point is the perfect week will help you see and place what matters and where it goes. Right. I was coaching a lady the other day. I think I told you guys this, right? I said, where do you put date night? I don't see date night in here. And she was being really crude, but I didn't get it till after we hung up the phone. She said, Rick, we don't need date night. We have 3, we both work from home. We have 3 5-minute date nights every day. And she nodded her head like that. And then I'm like, oh, good for you. You know, I didn't think. And then when I hung up the call, I'm like, oh, what a pervert, right? So the whole idea is that you plan everything out in a week, right? Because you don't, you know, I used to say to my team, I say, you don't tell your significant other that you love them on Monday morning. Say, I love you. I'll see you Friday night on date night. What? You still have to come home, right? Those are the kinds of things that have to get filled in there. When do you come home? That same wife, when she was a hairstylist, she only worked 2 days a week, Thursdays at 3 o'clock, and she'd work till 10 or 11 at night, and all day Saturdays. It was something we had agreed on by the time she cut back after the first boy was born, and then she cut back more after the second boy was born. So Thursdays, I was home by 2:30. I never took appointments after 2:30. Remember, I was managing a real estate office and selling real estate. I just no in-person appointments. I'd go home, help the boys with their homework. I'd sit on the couch or on my desk and get some work done while they were hovering around me. Okay. And so I was always home. Those are the kinds of things you can do. I'm just telling you the things I did right. There's a lot in between there. I'm not telling you where I sucked and things failed. And of course, we ended up getting a divorce, but in the big scheme of things, I learned my lesson, right? We're not doing the same things in the second marriage that we did in the first marriage. Okay. So, all right. That's your stuff. Who wants a question, comment, aha, thought, anything that I can help with before we jump?
I hear what you're saying, Rick, but the only thing I struggle with personally, and I'm sure other people may as well, is the status of the market and working with these buyers. And it seems like I could have a perfect day planned, and then the morning gets all screwed up because I've got to jump on 2 houses, and those are the only times they can go, or that's the only time it's available. And so then I'm shifting things. I feel like I'm constantly in a state of shift.
That's okay. That's the beautiful thing about it. So use this rule, Tina. If I erase, I must replace. That's just your new rule. So if I have to erase something out of my calendar for the urgency of a buyer, which is how I get paid and pay my bills, guess what? Just replace that activity that was supposed to happen somewhere else in the same day, preferably. Okay.
Yep.
So one of the things that always gets, what do you think is one of the first things that my coaching clients erase? Anyone? Take a guess. What, Judy?
Making their calls.
Yes, lead generation time. If you erase, you must replace. They go, oh, buyer called me, gotta go. I go, really? What else was in the calendar at that time? Oh, lead generation. Of course it was. It didn't have to be a trip to the grocery store that got canceled. It was actually lead generation. So you just say, if you erase, you must replace. It's like this. Would you take a buyer out over your dentist appointment? The answer better be yes. Right? I mean, unless you were in extreme pain and your mouth was falling out. Right. But it's a dentist appointment. You're going to want to get it replaced and get that taken care of, right? People won't suggest, but that's all right. I'll do the lead generation tomorrow. That's fine. But you said 5 days a week and you canceled this day. Where will the 5th day end up being? Because tomorrow was scheduled also. Got 7 days. You're going to do 5 days of lead generation. Maybe you're not. But again, that goes to your ideal week, your perfect week. And if you plan everything out and look at it and say, if I do this week, I will be very successful all the time. That's all. That's what you want to look at. And success can mean successful with my husband or wife or significant other. It can mean whatever you want it to mean, especially in the way of money, which is why we're on this call in the first place. So, okay. Good question, Tina. Tina, the biggest thing that has to happen in there is not to beat up on yourself and still be able to be present. All right. Not be showing them those 2 houses and wondering what your 17-year-old's doing. Okay. But certainly when you're with your 17-year-old, you don't want to be going, I wonder what those buyers are doing right now while I'm with my 17-year-old. So wherever
Oh,
you
don't wo-
are.
Don't worry,
That's-
I'm not worrying about what my triplets are doing at that moment.
How old are your triplets?
They're gonna be 22 in May.
Oh, wow. God bless you. The fact that
Yeah.
you got this far. My buddy's quadruplets are what are they this year? They're 4.
Oh, he's in the prime time there.
Yeah, 3 boys and a girl, all the same age. And he sends us videos of, he's an amazing skier. So he can ski down the hill backwards while filming his little, and he's been sending us videos of his kids coming down the hill with no poles since they were like
Oh.
2.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm a godfather of one and my wife's a godmother of another. And it's, yeah, crazy. So, yep. All right. Thank you, Tina, for bringing that up. I'm sure it was on the minds of everyone else. Anybody else got something before we head out?
Yeah, like there's.
All right. I didn't hear anybody speak up, so thank you guys for being on. You guys really make my week. You get me inspired. You make me think about what I'm not doing to improve my business. So I appreciate you more than I can say. All right.
Thank you, Rick.
Be good, everybody. Bye-bye.